in the Forge, we are always raising the bar. But now, we're putting it at an all-time high. Everything in this competition, from the steel, the blades, even the test, will be some of the biggest we have ever seen on the Forge floor.
It's a big piece of steel.
Who will rise to this massive challenge and take home $10,000?
Big knife, big challenge.
This is Forged in Fire Supersized.
My name is Elon Green. I'm 26 years old. I'm a part-time bladesmith out of Kalispell, Texas. I got into bladesmithing with a whole lot of internet surfing. I ended up getting my grandpa involved. We watched Forged in Fire every day, and being able to say, hey, Grandpa, I got on Forged in Fire, and I know he'll be proud of that.
My name's Clay Unruh. I'm from Coldwater, Kansas. I'm 30 years old, and I've been bladesmithing about 5 years. I like making really weird stuff. I've always been into fantasy movies and video games. I made a zombie apocalypse axe with like a bat for the handle. I'm here to prove that I'm not just another guy making knives in his garage. I can hang with the big dogs.
My name is Josh Meyer. I'm 47 years old from Flagstaff, Arizona, and I've been smithing for about 5 years. My biggest strength to smithing is probably the variety of things I do, because I'm not just a bladesmith. I'm a full-time artist. I work primarily in the mediums of stone, steel, and wood.
My name is Rob Harvey. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm a part-time bladesmith. I was in the Marine Corps, and I actually spent most of my time in Okinawa, Japan. I definitely take influence from the Japanese style of bladesmithing. I had a great respect for visiting their shops in Japan.
Well, gentlemen, welcome to the Forge. The four of you are here to put your skills to the test in a massive bladesmithing competition. This consists of 3 rounds. At the end of each one, I will ask you to present your work to our panel of expert judges. And they're the ones who will decide who leaves here empty-handed, who's taking home the title, and that check for 10 grand. Now, bladesmiths, this is a competition in the series we are calling Forged in Fire Supersized. Now, bladesmiths, under this tarp, I've got not 1, but 2 massive pieces of steel with which we want you to salvage materials and make blades. Now, I'm sure you guys are ready to light the forges and get going.
Yes, sir.
So, you guys are gonna need these.
I see these massive coil springs that look like dinosaur bones. And I don't know how you can draw that out in 3 hours.
Bladesmiths, what you're looking at here is 500 combined pounds of 5160 spring. In addition to the spring steel, you then take steel, clad it over your spring to make a sanmai billet, with which we want you to make a massive signature blade in your signature style, between 16 and 18 inches.
Big knife, big challenge. It's definitely supersized.
Now, for the 3 of you who are lucky enough to join us in the second round of competition, you will add handles to those signature blades, turning them into fully functioning weapons, at which point our judges will put them through a series of tests. You're gonna start off by checking your strength and durability in an ice block chop, and then check your edge retention in a double punching bag slice. All right, guys, we've got 3 hours on the clock for the first round of this supersized competition, so good luck, stay sharp. Your time starts now.
Yeah, they're really springing to it.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a big piece of steel.
It literally takes 2 guys to move them. They're gonna have a heck of a time breaking this down and getting the steel they need for their core material.
As soon as the clock starts, me and Elin are teaming up for the greater good and getting our pieces of steel harvest.
Both of our springs are getting attacked with the oxyacetylene torch. Do you guys think that's the fastest method to get this broken down?
If you know how to use an oxyacetylene cutting torch, it is.
Don't cut my foot.
I'm nervous. I've made sanmai in the past, but never with something so large.
So, bare minimum, what can they get away with on this spring?
I wouldn't go much less than 3 inches.
You can always lose steel. That's not having enough in the sanmai situation. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour from now, you're starting over.
Think that's enough?
Yeah. There you go. See, that's quick, man.
It would really be a dick move just to cut my piece off, so I stay and help cut him a piece as well.
Which one you want?
I don't care.
They've both chosen to use about 5 inches of the spring, so they've got a ton of steel there for their core material.
While this is heating up, I go over to the pantry to find my cladding.
Typically in the sand mine competitions, we see smiths have an awful time just getting that done with clean, pristine bar stock. We're asking these guys to process and work down a 2-inch diameter piece of round spring before even cleaning it up, getting the cladding going, and getting to the starting point of a sand mine billet. There's a lot of work in the first 3 hours of this competition.
Waiting on that steel to heat up drives me nuts. But if I don't let this piece of spring heat up as thoroughly as it needs to, then I'm gonna end up getting cracks all the way through that piece, and I do not want that.
Josh and I decided to work together.
It's a big old piece of steel, man. I know.
Cutting into the spring is very slow, but being in the Marine Corps definitely helped give me determination to do a task until it's done.
Come on, come on. So what does Rob here need to do to speed up the process?
He needs to heat up his torch, put more acetylene in, and then more oxygen in.
Hammer, here you go. All right.
Rob really needs to start speeding up.
And now it's time to cut my piece.
Almost through. There we go. Boom.
There's no time to waste. It's got to get in that fire right away because it's a big piece of steel. It's got a bend on it. I can't forge something straight onto something round, and I need it to be flat and so it can have a good bond.
What's the ideal thickness of the core material before you go ahead and clad?
You want to have the same dimension as the cladding steel you got. It's really what you want with nice, clean, square sides, you know. That would make a perfect weld.
Got the coral springs up to heat. Now I get it over the press, trying to flatten it out and straighten it out.
Clay's already got a hot piece of metal.
He's been in there for 20 minutes. Now he can just run away with it.
Yep, just work it down on the press really quickly. You can be extremely aggressive with your stuff.
Now I'm welding these suckers together as quickly as I can because I know that clock is running down.
Bladesmiths, 1 hour has elapsed. You've got 2 hours remaining.
I have my piece of spring steel nice and flat.
Rob's finished doing his cleanup, so I guess he's MIG welding together all of his layers.
I get my sand mine pieces welded, so at this point, I'm feeling awesome.
Now that it's up to temperature, I'm gonna go gently set my sand mine forge weld. If this forge weld goes wrong, I have to start completely over with cutting a whole new piece of coil spring. I do not have time for that.
Looks like he's running out a little bit of heat.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm not crazy about setting long forge welds on a press is that bottom piece is just sitting on that billet, sucking the heat out of that bottom piece of steel.
So at this point, I'm pretty confident my welds are good. So now I have to keep stretching it some more, getting to where I have a blade.
Joshua's, I think, ready to clad his steel.
Once I'm up to temperature, now it's time to get over to the press, and I want to very gently set these welds.
Looking at Joshua's steel from here, he's looking pretty consolidated.
By my second pass on each side, I'm pretty confident that it's forge welded good, and it's time to heat this thing up and start stretching it out.
Making the bread.
The pressure is on to forge this to shape. When I heard the tests that the judges were going to be performing today, I immediately thought, don't waste time forging a big, complicated tip. Just do simple, easy competition chopper with a straight edge and a little bit of a belly.
My least favorite thing on the planet, the straight-bladed flip point competition chopper.
That's your least favorite thing on the planet?
Least favorite knife on the planet that
You
goes
haven't
on
been
this
out
show.
much.
Yeah.
At this point, I am beat.
16 to 18 is a massive piece of metal.
It's a big blade.
But one way or another, I'm turning in a blade.
Bladesmiths, you are halfway through this round. You've got 90 minutes remaining.
Now that I got the forge weld set, I gotta make a knife. And I gotta make a super-sized knife, not just any knife.
So I'm going for, in my house, what we call a choppy chop. It's just a big chopper. It's got a little bit of recurve to it, and it'll be great for chopping anything, wood, ice, and it'll be sharp.
You know, for starting 20 minutes behind everybody else, Rob's making good time now.
I'm feeling awesome, and now it's time to start normalizing.
I still have to shape my blade. I think I'm gonna lean more towards my signature drop point. I wanna add a little bit of a recurve to it for the ice chop, just to give them more forward heft for when they swing, it'll bite in a little better.
Elon's got a big hunk of metal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So after lugging around this giant honking piece of steel, my arms are tired, I'm exhausted.
Elon's starting to work his metal cold. He's losing all the color.
He keeps doing that.
So working the materials cold is never a good idea. I mean, you're going to wind up creating cracks and stress fractures.
I feel like I can't get it past that 16-inch mark, and I am getting stressed.
Joshua has a beautiful rectangular shape to his blade. Now to start putting some form into that.
I want to make a machete. I think that's about the right size for a machete. I think it'll handle itself very well. The machetes are nostalgic to me because I grew up in Papua New Guinea, and it was like an everyday tool that we had whenever we went around anywhere. You can't go through the jungle without a machete.
Bladesmiths, you have 45 minutes remaining.
Now it's time to quench this thing. I got to do this right the first time because that clock is ticking.
Here we go. In the oil, like all the way in the oil.
The minute I dropped my blade in the oil, I thought, oh, I'm going home.
Get it out of there.
Hopefully it didn't hit the bottom and bend.
This could be it for me. I pull it out, and to my surprise, it's pretty straight. For a second there, I thought this was over for me. I'm getting it over to the grinder, cleaning it up as fast as I can.
Oh, no.
And I noticed there's a crack all the way down the spine of this blade. Hoping that this crack doesn't run very deep and I can grind it out in a few minutes.
That just seemed like it went awesome.
Right?
The Japanese believe that when you scream, you're transferring your spirit into the blade, and I transfer everything I have into that blade.
Holy smokes.
I'd have a supersized crack going down the spine of the blade.
We've seen time and time again in these sand mine competitions, especially with a high temperature quench, that core material just shearing, is splitting straight down the middle.
I really am not sure if I'm gonna have time to fix it.
Elon just quenched, and it was hot.
Pull it out and check, everything looks straight. Now I have to get to the grinder. I'm just hogging as much steel off as I can. Oh, come on. I have several spots show up, and it looks like it could be a crack.
It's, once again, the curse of the sand mine.
And seriously,
It's screaming hot quench, man.
I gotta get rid of that crack. If the cracks go all the way through, I'm going home. Come on now.
in the oil. All right, guys, 4 Smiths, 4 quench blades.
We got a nice hard edge. Man, I am so relieved. I'm so happy. I've got to get to the grinder. I want to try to clean it up a little bit and just work to the last second.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, turn off your machines, put down your tools. The first round of this competition's over.
Good job, brother.
I wasn't able to fix that crack. At this point, I have to hope one of the other contestants has a worse blade than me. And I'm not very confident that I'll be advancing with that crack on the spine.
All right, Bladesmiths, the time has come for the first critique. Elon, you are up first. Please present your work.
So, Elon, great work in shaping this blade, but I've got some issues with it. Mainly that it's got a crack that runs from the spine all the way to basically the tang. The worst part is it runs on both sides. You get into the second round, you've got to take the mass off of this thing and figure out some way to close that blade up.
Clay, sir, how you feeling?
I'm ready.
All right, please present your work.
All right, Clay, let's talk about your blade here. So first off, you have a very basic design of a chopper. But what gives me pause is that there is a crack on the spine. The saving grace of that is there's none on your edge. So should you move forward, I hope you have a plan to fix this and bring out its beauty.
Thank you.
Joshua, it's your turn. Please present your work.
All right, Joshua, your blade's a solid 1/4 inch. There's a slight warp to it, but it's well within grinder range. Biggest thing is, if you're getting into the second round, is to maintain that sand mine. Don't lose all of that cladding material. Your steel looks good. Nice stuff.
Thanks, sir.
Last but not least, Rob, please present your work.
Oh, Rob, this is a cool shaped knife. I love the profile of it. Bevels are looking good, but the big thing here is that there's a huge crack that runs down the spine of your blade, really, really wide. I wouldn't, at this point, call it a catastrophic failure. In a competition like this, you can come back from this with the right kind of repair. Great job on the setup for this knife. It looks really good, but this crack really needs to be dealt with.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, there's never anything easy about coming into a Forge and Fire competition, and this one was massive. But only 3 of you can join us in the second round of this competition. After discussion, the judges all agreed that the smith who will not be joining us is Elin. Unfortunately, your blade didn't make the cut, and Ben's gonna tell you why.
Elin, a lot of people had cracks in their blades today, but yours is the only one that went all the way from the spine to the edge. And that really is a catastrophic failure of a blade, and it's for that reason we're gonna let you go.
Well, Elin, you fought hard. You gave us a blade that met parameters, but unfortunately, it's not enough to get you into the second round of this competition. At this point in time, I'm gonna have to ask you to please surrender your work and step off the forge floor.
My blade wasn't the only one to crack, but unfortunately my crack went all the way through and it was just the worst out of the 3 that showed up. But I still produced a blade within the 3 hours and the supersized challenge on top of that. I'm proud that I fought till the end.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. The 3 of you are joining us in the second round of the supersized competition where you're gonna fix all those issues the judges brought up about your blades, as well as add handles to them, turning them to fully functioning weapons. Now, if you take a look over at the pantry, you notice that all of our handle material has been wiped from its shelves, aside from 4 very large logs. Those logs are all you can use for the handles. After this round is done, you guys are gonna hand your blades over to our judges, and they're gonna test for strength and durability in an ice block chop, and then check your edge retention in a dual punching bag slice. You have a lot of work to do in these 2 hours, so good luck. That time starts now. Here we go. We got a lot of work to do on these blades. They're heavy. There's 2 massive cracks. How do we fix those?
The best thing to do is get a big open crack in the back and just fill that whole thing with big weld, making sure that that heat doesn't travel all the way down to the edge.
So I have a 2-hour round. I have to take this supersized log and turn this material into handle material. But the first thing I have to fix is the crack on the spine. So I start welding it in little increments so I don't overheat the steel completely. Once you take your temperature above the tempering temperature, your heat treat is ruined.
You know, what's going to be interesting about supersized blades, it's really going to be tested during an ice block
Absolutely.
chop. More mass, more vibrations, more impact to travel through the whole thing. So you do not address the crack thoroughly, it's going to open up.
I successfully closed the gap. I welded it up as best I could, and we'll see what happens.
Going into round 2, I'm very fortunate that I don't have any cracks, so that saves me a lot of time. I can jump on the grinder right away and start working on my warp.
You know, I'm watching Joshua grind, and it's just a really inefficient way to remove material, and Joshua's got a lot of material he has to remove.
Now that I got the warp out, I'm gonna start grinding down the rest of the blade and putting in a distal taper into it to thin it out a little bit and lighten it up on the end, and then I'm gonna start bringing in the bevels.
The risk I run welding the crack is the heat traveling to the cutting edge and softening the edge. I'm gonna avoid that the best I can by submerging the edge in a pail of water to try and block that heat from traveling to the cutting edge.
Adding that extreme heat, it's kind of dangerous, right? You make it brittle now.
Yeah, but if you just kept the edge in the water, the heat would only travel down so far. There'd be a gradient of heat.
So you're just using it as a heat sink.
Yeah.
The back of this blade looks like a stegosaurus, but I'm out of time and I have to move on. I'm heading over the grinder to try to remove some of the meat from this blade.
I've taken a lot of weight out of the knife, and I'm ready now to try and move on to my handle material.
I'm excited to see how these guys tackle these logs.
They've got the option to use the wedges and smash them into these logs, but the bandsaw seems to be the most efficient tool to get the job done.
I start hammering on it as hard as I possibly can, and I'm not having any luck splitting this log. So I go over to the bandsaw and I check how high the gate is so that I can actually see if I can get it in there. And sure enough, I can. I cut out a huge sliver, and now I'm back in the game to where I can make knife scales now.
After I get the majority of the grinding done, it's time for me to start working on the handle. So probably the easiest way to get some wood off of that log is to grab a splitter. And it's just bouncing. I've got to figure something else out. There's such a short amount of time. So I think maybe I'm just gonna have to sharpen the splitter up, make it more like an axe, and try again.
Joshua over here managed to split that log, but now he's got a rough piece of wood that's still a wedge.
Yeah, if nobody's on the bandsaw, use the bandsaw.
Bladesmiths, you guys are now halfway through the handle round. You only have 1 hour remaining before test.
I head over to the drill press and try to drill my pinholes.
See if Clay's able to get through that thick old tang.
Yeah, by that sound, I'd say no.
No, it's not going well for him.
In round one, when I quenched, I dropped the whole blade in the quench tank. So this entire knife is hardened, and hardened steel does not drill.
Clay's having trouble getting through it right now with only an hour left on the clock.
If I can't get the holes drilled in my tang, I won't be able to put pins and establish a mechanical connection, and I'd be going home. I look at the clock and I know I can't waste time trying to drill through this. So I'm getting a little wild.
Holy smokes. Yeah, it's not often you see somebody cut their holes in the tank.
It beats the heck out of burning up drill bits, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
If I can't drill through it, I'm gonna burn these holes through with the torch. This is something I've never done before, but desperate times call for desperate measures. It went swimmingly. Now I have to get this log split and get some wood for this handle.
The handle construction I'm going to be doing on this is a full tang, so I'll be putting scales of this wood on each side of the tang and pinning it in and gluing it. So I got all 6 holes in, and now I need to glue this thing on. I'm using some fast 5-minute setting epoxy, but I don't have 5 minutes to waste, so I quickly put some clamps on it, and I go over to my grinder, and I start working on sharpening it.
I put the epoxy on, and now it's time to wait for the epoxy to cure. It is 5-minute epoxy, but when you're rushing, those 5 minutes seem like eternity.
What the? I don't know if that's how this works.
Yeah, blowing on it doesn't help.
Makes me feel better.
All right.
My epoxy has now hardened, and I realize that I barely have any time left. I want to make sure that everything is nice and smooth, because if the blade injures the user, it's not a good tool.
Rob sharpening his blade right now.
That's good. He needs the time.
I've still got to shape this handle and do an acid etch, and there are minutes left. The pressure is on.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, turn off your machines, put down your tools. This second round is over.
I'm nervous going into testing because my handle's not as comfortable as I would like, the finish isn't as nice as I would like, and I'm still worried about those cracks. But just the fact that I was able to complete the challenge is an accomplishment in and of itself.
All right, bladesmiths, welcome to the strength test. The hanging ice block chop. Clay, you're up first. You ready for this? All right.
I'm not sure how the crack in my spine is gonna handle this chop. Worst case scenario, the spine blows apart.
All right, Clay. Well, first thing I realized when I pick up this blade, though, is its weight. It's very heavy, and it's just a little difficult to control. Your edge here picked up a roll, and looking at your spine, there's a little bit of issue I can see with the MIG weld, some gas bubbles in the MIG weld. but it held up great. Nice job.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Joshua, you're up next. You ready for this?
Yes, sir. I'm pretty confident in my blade because I got a good forge weld on that, but I am concerned about the edge taking damage on that ice.
All right, Joshua, your pattern is really cool. I can see it on both sides. Your blade took a slight ding, but that being said, blade is still straight. Nice job.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Rob, you're up, man. You ready?
Absolutely. Doing an ice block chop destroys blades, they explode, and we already know that I have a crack in my spine, and I am not feeling okay for this. It is gut-wrenching, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
All right, Rob, you nailed the supersized aspect of this thing. It's big in every dimension. The handle is big, but it's not overly big. The edge looks perfect. In all, I think you did a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Bladesmiths, this is the sharpness test, the double punching bag slice. Clay, you're up first. You ready for this?
If you must.
We must. All right, Clay, let's talk about your chopper here. First up, it is a heavy blade, but because of the weight, coupled with a sharp edge, it really adds to cutting into these bags. Overall, your weapon, you will cut.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Joshua, your turn. You ready?
I'm ready, man.
Let's do this. All right, Joshua, let's talk about your blade over here. Now, your edge, first cut, hit the stitching over there, but the rest of the bag, it just obliterated it. It's a very sharp edge. It's got a nice balance to it, a good feel swinging it, and overall, you will cut.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Rob, your turn. So you ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this. All right, Rob, let's talk about your behemoth of a blade here. Now, the edge is sharp. Packed with the weight of this blade, it cuts deep into the bags. And overall, you will cut.
Thank you, sir.
Now, gentlemen, in this competition, you guys all stood up to the massive task of turning giant springs into sand my blades. But as you know, only 2 of you can join us in the final round of this competition. And after discussion, our judges all agreed that the bladesmith leaving the forge is Clay. Unfortunately, your blade didn't make the cut, and Doug's gonna tell you why.
Clay, first up, I want to commend you for the work you did. That you can show us that even if you have a crack, if you make it through, there are ways of fixing it, and it performed very well in our test. But at the end of the day, your blade took some damage, and it's the least refined. That's the reason you're not moving forward.
I understand.
Clay, we want to say thank you for coming and fighting so hard, but unfortunately, at this time, I'm gonna have to ask you to please step off the forge floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys. I agree with the judge's decision. All 3 blades held up to the tests pretty well, but the other 2 smiths were just much more refined than mine. Even though I'm not leaving the Forged and Fire champion, I think I've still proved that I'm not just some guy making knives in his garage.
Joshua, Rob, gentlemen, congratulations. Your hard work has paid off, and you are both moving forward into the final round of the supersized competition. You probably noticed that throughout this competition, we had a little bit of a theme. There were 2 giant springs, we had 2 ice blocks, and there were 2 punching bags. And we're gonna keep that theme of 2s going. You guys will have 4 days to build these. A pair of elephant fighting swords.
Awesome.
The double elephant fighting swords, or Dab Nagao, trace their origins back to 18th century Lam Na Kingdom in modern-day Thailand. Used by mounted elephant warriors, these massive heavy blades featured a long handle to assist in counterbalance. Both blades measure around 30 inches and feature a flame-back spine and upswept tip. These swords were designed not only to attack other mounted soldiers with lethal stabs and slashes, but the ridges and peaks along the spine had the ability to trap an adversary's blade. Today, these swords are still used in traditional Thai martial arts.
This is the largest pair of weapons we have ever asked smiths to go home and make. But gentlemen, they need to fall within these following parameters. Your blade length needs to be between 27 and 29 inches. You need to have an upswept tip, 3 flames on the spine of each of your blades. Now going down to the handle, it needs to be ovoid in shape and between 17 and 19 inches. Now guys, these are large blades, but that does not mean they should be heavy. Each one of these blades cannot exceed 4 pounds.
I have to make 2 elephant swords, not 1. I have to make 2. Unbelievable.
Guys, you've got a ton of work ahead of you, but next time you enter this forge, one of you will be leaving with the title of Forged and Fire champion and getting a check for $10,000. So good luck. We will see you both in 4 days.
Do this. Back here in my home forge in Flagstaff, Arizona, I've decided I want to make Damascus for these blades. Something that stands out a little bit against my competitor. All right, I'm going to be using the 5160 and some 15 and 20. I'm pretty comfortable making the sword. It's the time constraints that I have for making 2 of them in 4 days. That's going to be the tricky part.
All right, I've only got 1 forge, so I want to get both of those billets in there if I can so I can rotate the billets back and forth and keep this process going along. So far, looking good. Into day 1, I got a lot done. Was able to get about 90% of the blades forged out this first day. So feeling good, I'm exhausted, but I'm ready to rock and roll tomorrow. Coming along, woohoo!
Day 1, we're back in my home forge in North Carolina. My goal is to make a 150-layer Damascus billet. It's a lot of steel. It's enough for 2 swords. I'm using 1 big billet so that I can accomplish both swords from 1 billet rather than starting with 2 billets. So hopefully it will go faster. Cool. I just finished day 1. I was able to make my 150-layer billet of Damascus. I'm a little bit nervous. I definitely feel behind, but I definitely feel it's going to pay off.
Day 2. So what's next is I want to start grinding in the profile so I can start making the shapes.
So grinding these 3 flames into the top of these blades is pretty tricky, and I can't mess this up because this is attached to this entire sword. I want to make sure that these flames look really nice because every little detail counts, and if Rob does better than me or if I grind one too short, I could really mess myself up.
Like it.
So I've got the profile shaped out, I've got the flames all nice, so now it's time for me to get this thing heat treated because my time is ticking.
Oh yeah, straight as an arrow. Wow.
It's the morning of day 2. My plan for today is I'm gonna forge out both blades and hopefully get them heat treated.
Getting there.
I've never done anything this big, but I'm moving pretty quickly, very efficiently, so I can start building up my heat treating oven. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to modify this a little bit to get the swords in here, but
Gonna have to do.
because of the size of these blades, being able to heat these blades up evenly is very challenging. There's 1. There's 2. There were no cracks, warps, nothing crazy like that. But my biggest concern throughout the entire Home Forge challenge was my heat treating. You know, my heat treating oven was not up to par for handling that type of heat treatment. I really just hope that they're strong enough.
Day 4, yesterday, I got started on the handle. So now it's time to do the glue up. I've got so many holes, I'm really concerned about making sure that all the pins fit in there and everything hooks up together nicely.
That's not good.
I'm gluing the first piece on and the pins just aren't going in. Time is ticking and I've got a lot to do.
We just had ourselves a little catastrophe, folks.
And I realized that I put it on the wrong side.
So I gotta try again.
I'm glad I caught that.
Yeah. Okay, saved it. Now I gotta hurry up.
I named my swords Chaos and Tranquility just because I used 2 different types of walnut and it was sort of a yin and a yang feel for me.
All glued up.
Rob, I hope you did well, buddy, because it's game time.
Woo!
Day 4. My overall plan for today is to finish the handles, get them glued up, basically sharpened up, ready to test. Nice and smooth. At first, I was a little worried about what I had to do with this supersized challenge, but ultimately, I feel really good about it. They feel good in the hand. I met all the parameters. Both my swords are light and fast, and they're sharp.
Joshua, Rob, gentlemen, welcome back to the Forge. We gave you 4 days of your home forges to work on the largest pair of weapons we've ever asked Smiths to make in this final round. Guys, I gotta say, they look amazing. But before we put them to the test to find out which one of you is coming out on top of this competition, I wanna hear about them. So, Rob, how'd you build yours?
I made 150 layer Damascus, and then I used Purple Heart and Osage Orange for the handle material.
Awesome, man. Joshua, how about you?
So I'd like you to meet Chaos and Tranquility over here. I'm made of 5160 and 15 and 20 steel with a low-layered, bold pattern Damascus, walnut handles, and some copper Damascus for the bolsters.
Outstanding. Gentlemen, after today, one of you is going to earn the title of Forge and Fire Champion and get a check for $10,000. Because this is the supersized competition, we're going to put your blades through a series of supersized tests. And up first, the kill test with Doug.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the kill test. Rob, you're up first. Ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's do it. At first sight, these tests are definitely terrifying because I know that my blades had some struggles in the heat treating area. 1 dummy's bad enough, but to see 2 is not an exciting thing. I'm so nervous.
bend in it. They both do. Wow.
All right, Rob, let's talk about your elephant fighting swords here. First up, the Damascus patterns you have here are stunning. But we have a problem. During the test, both blades took a very significant bend. As you can see here, they're kind of offset, they're not centered. And judging by how extreme these are, it looks like there's a major heat treat issue with both your blades. With every strike, they will continue to bend more and more. So unfortunately, I would not feel safe testing them further.
Now, Rob, both of your blades did make it through our kill test, but in the midst of that test, they both took very serious bends down near the handle. Our judges did decide to issue a vote of no confidence, and we cannot continue testing your blades. But you're not out of the fight yet. Joshua, in order to take home the title of Forge and Fire Champion and get a check for 10 grand, your blades will have to make it through our kill test with no disqualifying issues. Are you ready?
I am so ready. Let's do this. I have some chaos and some tranquility going on in my body. I mean, Rob obviously has a bend, but mine might break.
All right, Joshua, let's talk about your elephant swords here. These blades are nicely done. I don't see any damage to your blades. They're nice and tight and straight. Overall, your weapons will kill.
Thank you.
Well, Joshua, congratulations. Your blades made it through the kill test completely unscathed. Rob, we want to say thank you for coming out and trying so hard in this competition, but your time in the forge has ended. I'm going to have to ask you to please step off the forge floor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I absolutely know what was wrong with the blades. I didn't have a heat treating oven big enough. I had a feeling that that was going to be a weak spot, and it was dead on. I absolutely enjoyed the build. This definitely pushed my boundaries, and that's good, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well, Joshua, you are the new Forge and Fire champion. You're going to be receiving a check for $10,000. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys. Feels amazing. It's very surreal. I can't believe it.
You got plans for the money?
Gonna go back to my shop.
Right on.
This was a huge personal journey for me, but as a full-time bladesmith and artist, it pushed my creativity, ingenuity, and it was incredible. I'm Joshua Meyer, and I'm the Forged and Fire champion.
Here in the Forge, we are always raising the bar. But now, we're putting it at an all-time high. Everything in this competition, from the steel, the blades, even the test, will be some of the biggest we have ever seen on the Forge floor.
That's a huge knife, Michael.
Humongous. Who will rise to this massive challenge and take home $10,000? You guys look terrified. This is Forged and Fire Supersized.
I'm Mark Howland. I'm 28 years old. I got into bladesmithing by just finding a bunch of guys sword fighting in a field with armor on. One of them happened to be making swords at the time, and he recruited me in like kind of apprentice master program. I had this vest custom made for the competition because I knew David Baker shouldn't be the only one looking this good.
My name is John Simons from Indianapolis. I have 3 years bladesmithing. Most of that's all self-taught. I love doing this. Some people want to go to Disney World. I want to come here. This is my vacation, so I'm really looking forward to it.
My name is Michael Dillon, 54 years old, been forging for 30 years. I started making knives for props in the movie industry. I'm pretty confident, but wearing my pants may fall down. That's why I have a belt and suspenders. Double up.
My name is Matt Cota. I'm from Live Oak, Texas. I'm 30 years old, been bladesmithing for 5 years. I was in the Air Force. And one of the happiest things I get to do as a bladesmith is volunteering with a San Antonio nonprofit called Reforged, taking veterans and first responders and giving them a free bladesmithing course. We also get to use this as a type of art therapy.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the Forge. The 4 of you are about to take part in the biggest bladesmith competition going. Today, we are starting the first in a 4 competition series we're calling Forged and Fire Supersized. Now, at the end of each round, you will present your work to our panel of expert judges who will make critiques and eliminations. Now, gentlemen, under this tarp is not 1, but 2 of the largest pieces of steel we have ever asked smiths to salvage the materials from to make a blade.
I'm seeing this huge tarped monstrosity in the center of the room, and my best guess of what's under there is things I'm not gonna like.
But today, bladesmiths, to make a knife, you're gonna need this. What we have here is 7 feet of railroad. This railroad is made of hardenable steel. This is exactly what we want you to use to make a signature blade in your signature style, measuring between 15 and 17 inches.
We don't have to use all of it, right?
At the end of the first round, you'll present your work to our judges, and 1 of you will be leaving. But then we'll move into the second round of competition, and for the 3 of you who join us, you'll add handles to those blades, making them fully functioning weapons. When that round is complete, you'll turn them over to the judges again, and they will check for strength and durability in a railroad tie chop. And then check your edge retention in a leather stab and slice. All right, gentlemen, you have 3 hours on the clock for the first round. So good luck. Your time starts now.
Here, there. Let's get on this side. All right. Okay, so take that side, we'll take this side. Awesome, yeah.
This is a big one in a lot of different ways, guys.
You know, one of the things about this is the hardest part of this challenge is harvesting your steel, because right after that, it's mono steel. And there's so many ways you can actually cut it to length already, so that it's just about drawing it out.
I've never worked with railroad track to build knives before. Sculpture, but never knives. Railroad track is very difficult to work because of its shape and its size and being able to cut it.
But part of the strategy in this is thinking about what piece of this railroad track you want to salvage your metal from.
You can cut a big chunk quickly and forge it, spend more time forging, or you can cut out from the thinner part of the body, it's less forging. I like the fact that Michael right away grabbed the hot wrench.
That's the easiest and fastest way.
I've been using oxyacetylene for over 30 years. I'm looking to use the bottom half of the railroad track just because gravity helps with that cut.
It looks like you cut it with a tip already in.
That's almost a blade shape already.
Just put an edge on it and quench it.
That's some good thinking there.
Yeah.
I take it to the grinder, try and get some of the slag off so I can shape this blade easily in the forge.
I'm going for the cutting torch. I do not have barely any experience using it, but it's going to be the fastest way to get through this track.
Look at John's flame. It's way too large to get a good cut.
It starts out great, but then liquid metal starts filling up the cut I just made. And it's hardening up. It's a big hot mess.
If you know the tools, you can potentially get through this in a matter of 5 minutes or so. But if you have trouble setting up the oxyacetylene torch for one, this could take you a really long time to get that steel to start working with.
I'm not getting a clean cut through this. It's extremely frustrating, so I'm gonna grab a hammer. If it doesn't budge, I gotta start this nightmare all over again.
Yeah!
Now I can start getting to work.
Now, Mark's made the decision to go with the cutoff wheel.
If you're going to the cutoff wheel, I would not go near the top rail. If you're good with a cutting torch, that's why I go with the top rail.
It's just not cutting through like I need it to. I know oxyacetylene is going to be the quickest way through this, but I don't know how to run it, so I'm sitting there trying to get this thing moving, and I just am looking at the clock, dreading it.
Bottom rail just off to the side should be wide enough, thick enough to make the 17 to 15.
The reason I'm going with the middle of the I-beam is because it's actually the thinnest and it's the flattest.
When we're asking for supersized and big blades, get a big piece and have sacrificial steel. You can always remove metal. You can't add metal. Well, unless you start forge welding.
Cutting this has taken much longer than I had anticipated. I'm able to get the bottom part of my rectangle cut off extremely easy. Unfortunately, the top flat part of the railroad track is in the way of the top part of the angle grinder, so I don't feel comfortable trying to cut that piece off upside down. So I'm just going to get as close as I can, the best that I can. The longer it takes for me to cut this, that's gonna be less time I'm gonna have to be able to get everything done that I need to in this short amount of time.
After I get off the grinder, I'm on to the forge and get it under the hammer as soon as possible. I'm gonna make a large fighter knife. It's a drop point, nice, long, sleek, sexy. Some of the blades I made for props have been apocalyptic in style. I think it's somewhat similar.
Look how long Michael's billet's already gotten.
This blade's looking fantastic.
Now that my steel's clean, it's in the forge, I decided to go with almost a machete. I think would be the easiest style to go with for this. And it'd be great for chopping. Now I have to get this drawn out.
I finally get a piece knocked off, and I throw it in the forge as quick as I can.
Matt got his steel finally.
Woo! It feels so good to finally get this stuck in the forge. Even though I'm the last one, I'm still feeling okay because of my rectangle. I've already got something that's roughly a billet shape that I just gotta stretch out and make the right length and width.
What would you guys do as far as your blade shape?
I would go with the Appleseed edge, but I would make a wide blade just to get that long, steep profile.
I've decided that the best overall weapon that I can make in my own style is gonna be a Viking sax. Viking's X is going to be fantastic for the chopping test because it's a straight edge and I'm able to work that a lot quicker.
I think I can get this done. I'm confident, I know what I need to do, and can't second guess myself. As I'm seeing that thing come up to temp, I see 2 huge fractures just right on the end of it.
Mark thinks he saw a crack in there. That is still way more steel than he needs for the blade we're asking for. Draw it out. If you think there's a crack, cut it off or use it for the tang portion of the blade.
I'm exasperated. Those stretch fractures are going to be throughout the entire thing. My options here are hope I can wind up getting past those stretch fractures or just chuck it and run, see if I can get another piece.
I don't know, he's just standing there.
Yeah. I was finally able to rip off this railroad track, but I'm looking at the time, making the decision to grab another piece. It's tough. I don't know what to do.
So guys, we're halfway through our supersized challenge, and Mark is currently in bad shape. And he's thinking about going back to the 7-foot railroad and starting over. Not an easy task.
I see 2 huge fractures. My options here are hope I can wind up getting past those stretch fractures or just chuck it and run.
Mark's just gonna change it up and get a different piece of steel. You took all that time cutting that piece of steel, letting it heat up, and now you're gonna start over.
And I don't understand why he'd even attempt to draw it out.
I go for one of the thinner sections. I'm feeling like really under the gun right now.
Mark's got a second piece of steel now, which is considerably smaller than his first piece. So we're going from one extreme to the other.
I'm thinking to myself, this is gonna be tight, but I have to go with my guns here.
Bladesmiths, you have 90 minutes left.
This blade, I'm loving it. I hope everybody loves it as much as I do. So I'm gonna grab a little piece of rebar. I'm gonna shape it in a little tiny heart for my good friend Jay. Hopefully he won't break my heart.
That man loves what he's doing.
Shame it's not Valentine's Day.
I'm feeling good about my ability to get this thing shaped to what I want it to be. But this is a thick piece of metal that I gotta get thinned down.
We've got massive pieces of steel for them to salvage and make their blades, but hoping we don't have boat anchors turned in for you guys to test, because that could be detrimental to your shoulders and their ability to get 10 grand.
With that in mind, I decided a fuller is the best course of action.
So what's the point of using the guillotine to put the fullers in and not just going to the grinder with a small wheel?
If you're grinding it in, you're really not changing the shape of the blade at all. But if you use the guillotine, every time you hammer down, you're widening the blade.
And I'm able to get a nice straight line.
I normally make large knives, but the length requirement, 15 to 17 inches, is insane. I'm drawing it out. It's thicker on one side than the other, so it's starting to banana on me. It's a bit frustrating. I'm always having to go flatten it out before I can stretch it again. Once I get the profile forged out, I look at the clock. It's about time to get grinding.
This is definitely throwing a wrench in my work. It's time to get this thing shaped up. The final shape is based on a Georgian Stradivari. It looks like it's 2-edge, but it's not. It's a single edge running all the way up. I can have long bevels. I'm gonna have a thick spine for a railroad tie chop.
I was worried about Mark, but he was really catching up.
I'm a little on the fringes. A lot of the stuff I make is fantasy-based with historical thrown in, but I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
Bladesmiths, you have 45 minutes remaining.
What I like about Michael's blade is that all it is a play on scale. It's just sort of that Musso buoy shape. He's just blown it up by 4 inches.
It's huge.
All right. There you go. He had a nice color going on with that.
It looks pretty straight. All I got left to do now is grind away.
Since I turned my forge on the first time, I just fell in love with it. Making knives is a form of art. Making something out of nothing is what I like most about it. The color looks good.
John in the quench.
It looks extremely straight. I'm relieved, but I have to get back to the grinder. Clean this up the best I can.
Gentlemen, you have 10 minutes left on the clock. Mark just quenched at a screaming hot temperature.
I'm worried about his blade. It could be really brittle.
I'm feeling pretty good about being able to catch up this quick. I can spend the rest of this time getting this blade dialed in.
I'm wrapping up the grinding here, and I decide before I quench, I want to give a little bit of extra razzle-dazzle. So I use the top of the contact wheel just to add in some little divots along the spine.
Matt doesn't have much time left. Instead of adding work to his blade, he should be refining what he's got.
I'm finally ready to quench this blade.
Matt just quenched.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, turn off your machines. First round of this competition is over.
I'm feeling really good about how it looks overall, and I'm really praying that I'm not wrong.
All right, gentlemen, in the past 3 hours, you source your materials from a railroad track and turn them into monosteel signature blades. The time has come for the judges to decide which one of you will not be joining us in the second round of competition and which 3 of you are moving forward. Mark, you are up first. Please present your work.
All right, so Mark, right off, a really bold choice to go with this handle shape. We haven't seen it in competition before, and I really like it. This is a great looking short sword, but you really need to get onto these grinds. You got some fairly deep hammer marks here that I would love to see more refined. But anyway, good job.
Thank you.
John, you're up next. Please present your work.
All right, John, I like the design that you came up with for a nice chopper. The handle fits my hand perfectly, but it seems a little bit small when you have a heavy blade, especially when you pick up, it wants to go forward. And when you look at that spine, it is very thick. So if you move forward, I'd really like to see you lighten this blade, because if you don't, it might be hard to handle or make it uncomfortable. But overall, I like the look.
Michael, please present your work.
Michael, first off, you did a really nice job on this. If I ever get my wish and get to be in a horror movie, I want to take this with me, because this would be perfect. You not only gave us enough height, so if you bring that grind up, you're going to have fantastic edge geometry for both tests, but it's also not really heavy. You got some deep hammer marks that you need to clean up, but overall, good job.
Thank you.
Matt, you're up now. Please present your work.
All right, Matt, right off, when I pick this up, what I feel is a lot of mass towards the front of this blade. Your handle right now is a little on the long side in that my hand fits behind that finger well. Other than that, I'd love to see all this work you've done up here finished. Finish those fullers out, the sort of napping you did on the spine, get that finished out. There's a light warp up here at the tip. If you move forward, it's refinement that this blade needs more than anything. But solid design, nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, the first round of this competition was a massive challenge, and all 4 of you rose to the occasion and turned in supersized blades that meet parameters. But as you know, only 3 of you can join us in the second round of this competition. The bladesmith leaving the forge is Matt. Unfortunately, your blade did not make the cut, and Doug's going to tell you why.
Matt, you presented us with a good blade, but with the warp you had, and in comparison to your competitors, it is the least refined, and that's the reason you're not moving forward.
Well, Matt, we gave you a difficult challenge, and you definitely stood up to it, but unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. At this point in time, I'm going to have to ask you to please surrender your work and step off the forge floor.
Yes, sir. Being that this was the supersized competition, I'm overall very happy with the way I tackled it.
Good fight, bud.
I can't wait to get back home and figure out what my next big project's gonna be.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. The 3 of you have made it past the first round and are moving into the second round of the supersized competition, where you guys are going to add handles to your blades, turning them into fully functioning weapons, as well as fixing any issues that our judges brought up to you in your critiques. Now, as far as handle material goes, you guys have to use wood. But you probably noticed the pantry is kind of looking a little empty here. So, for handle materials in this round, you guys are going to need this. Gentlemen?
Oh, no. When they bring that huge 6x6 out, I can't believe it. This thing's enormous. It's gonna be a real struggle.
Gentlemen, what you see here is a 6x6 beam of wood that you all must use to make your handles. The second round's competition only comprised of 2 hours to complete your blades, getting them fully assembled and ready for testing. Good luck, because that time starts now.
What do you say we cut 3 10-inch pieces?
Well, that is one large piece of wood.
You're gonna have to work together. There's no way to lift that thing up, take it to the bandsaw, and cut it without somebody holding the other end.
I'll grab it from the back.
This thing is massive. Obviously, we're going to have to figure out some way to divvy it up, but there's no way I'm gonna handle that myself. We come up with a plan to get that thing over through the bandsaw.
Well, they're all working together, and this should go through like butter.
We might be competing against each other, but we're all trying to help each other succeed. Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right.
After we get the wood cut, I go straight to grinding. I just want to get the final form, shape down. I want to lighten this blade up.
Michael's being very vigilant trying to get all those hammer marks out of the blade. He had a couple pretty deep strikes, but it looks like he's making progress.
Yeah.
I could probably make 20 handles with the amount of wood starting with.
John's blade, though it needs to lose some weight, already has some beautiful grinds on it. In my opinion, it'd be a really smart idea for John to put that handle on right now. But by putting the handle on now, he can shape it whenever he wants.
There's 2 other guys gonna need this drill press. I don't wanna wait for it. I wanna get my handle, scales, all machined and ready to go and get that done first.
Looks like John might be taking your idea to heart and doing the handle first.
Perfect. Good to go.
Mark still got some pretty deep hammer marks in those blades. I hope they can get them out of there without an issue.
Now, I hope Mark can do it without making his blade too light.
Ah, there you go.
We've got a very aggressive test in the railroad tie chop.
I came up with an idea to get my fuller in. Fuller's gonna take up some of the surface area, get out some of those hammer marks. It's gonna give it a nice light feeling, so it's gonna be nice and nimble.
Happy with that.
Michael's gonna break down that block and start getting his handle material figured out.
I'm gonna go ahead and take it over to the saw, get it close cut to the profile that I want so I don't have to spend a lot of time shaping it on the grinder.
Michael's doing good work. I like that.
I'm gonna wanna go ahead and get this thing ready to glue up.
Bladesmiths, you have 60 minutes remaining.
After the scales are done, I set them aside. Now I gotta adjust the weight.
You can see some really heavy, even sparks coming out of John, so they're definitely grinding to lighten out that blade.
He's talented on the grinder for sure.
Will it work? It's feeling a lot better.
That's a huge knife Michael's got.
Humongous.
I love it.
Once the epoxy dries, I gotta shape that handle.
Michael's over there doing some heavy contouring on that handle.
I kind of like the flare he's got towards the front of the blade and the back, just to kind of lock your hand right in there.
Oh! I do have a problem with these belts gumming up. Come on. This is getting a little frustrating. I can't believe I'm at this spot and I can't get this handle material to come off. This is the end of the road. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
We're more than halfway through a handle round in our supersized challenge, and Michael's running into trouble with the grinder over here.
Come on. I do have a problem with these belts gumming up.
Michael just needs to switch out that belt. After 5 hours of competing, things just kind of slip your mind.
I switch belts.
There you go.
Now, this handle's coming along. I think it'll be okay.
It's time to finish this handle up. If your handle doesn't feel good, it could definitely be the difference between moving on and getting sent home. So I'm making sure this handle is comfortable.
John's handle looks pretty small, but he's got good contouring. It's going to be interesting to see how that feels in your guys' hands.
Pine is a really boring, light-colored wood. I want to make it stand out.
John's got the math gas there. You think he's gonna put some texture or charring on his handle?
Yeah, I like that.
Next, put some oil on it, really get this grain to stand out and look great.
Gentlemen, you have 15 minutes left.
I need to get this handle trimmed and shaped. The handle shape is pretty unique on this one. On all 4 sides, it has to be pretty much symmetrical. I have to really contour that center handle grip for a nice, comfortable swing.
I really love the handle style he's got on there. It's nothing like we've ever seen.
Mark's design reminds me a ton of the blade I carried when I was in the service. That's got that squid handle.
After I get this thing shaped, Time to get this thing sharp.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, turn off your machines. This round is over.
My blade isn't the biggest. It doesn't have the most mass, but it's still gonna chop. It's still gonna cut.
Bladesmiths, welcome to our strength test. Today we'll be doing the railroad tie chop. Michael, you're gonna go first. You ready?
Don't break my heart.
I won't break your heart. Maybe your knife, though.
I'm not too concerned about my blade, but I'm not really sure about the handle material staying on. This soft wood seems rather absurd for a big knife like this.
That was fun. Can I do more? Michael, great job. The handle, the way you contoured it on the top and the bottom, my hand never moved. And the fact that you've got such a big blade and it doesn't weigh a ton. You can have a big blade without it being a boat anchor. And this is a good example. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, John, you ready to go?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
I'm definitely worried Jay's gonna break this. Jay has a great reputation of not holding back. Got me a little nervous.
All right, John, I'm starting to think we're making this testing too easy. Razor edge. This is like a razor blade, and it's still just as sharp. Didn't do any damage to the edge at all. Otherwise, great job.
Thank you, sir.
How you feeling, Mark?
Pretty good.
Good? Okay,
Yeah.
Don't bust any buttons on me, all right?
Keep them to my chest. The fact that I got 2 testing is one thing. Now I have to see Jay wailing with my knife onto a piece of railroad tie. I'm gonna be biting my teeth the whole way. Now I have to see Jay wailing with my knife onto a piece of railroad tie. I'm gonna be biting my teeth the whole way.
Hot quench.
Real hot quench.
All right, Mark, a bit of a problem here. When you quenched your blade, you quenched it pretty hot. If you look at your grain structure, it's basically silver sand. And if you look right here, on this spot right on the edge, you got that dark mark. It means you had a stress fracture that was already there. And on the second piece, you had another one up at the spine. So those are your 2 break points. Definitely a heat treat issue.
Well, Mark, you turned in a beautiful blade with an extremely unique handle. Wish it would have made it all the way through testing, but unfortunately, because it broke into 3 pieces, we consider that a catastrophic failure. I'm gonna have to ask you to please step off the forge floor. Thank you.
Good job, Mark. Appreciate the work, man.
My blade shattered on first strike. If I could have done anything differently today, it would have been to slow down and just make sure my temps were right. I came here to have fun, and that's what I did. I'm still absolutely proud of the work that I put in.
John, Michael, gentlemen, congratulations. The 2 of you have made it through the first 2 rounds of our competition and are moving forward into the final round where you're heading back to your home forges to build an iconic weapon from history. This is a supersized competition, so I'm sure you didn't expect to come into this final round and build something small. Behind this curtain is not only a blade too large to be standing next to me, this is the largest blade we have ever asked bladesmiths to make in the final round. Gentlemen, in 4 days, you will have to build this. the Groot Pierre sword.
During the 16th century, a larger-than-life warrior in the Netherlands, known to the locals as Groot Pierre, or the Giant Pierre, wielded this massive sword in battle. Pierre's size made him the subject of folklore and legend, but the physical size of his sword speaks for itself. The 15-pound, nearly 7-foot-tall sword is the largest European sword ever to be used in combat. As a mercenary and pirate, Groot Pierre is believed to have wielded this weapon with ease, delivering devastating blows to any enemy that got in his way. And it can be seen today at the Fries Museum in the Netherlands.
This massive sword measures in at nearly 7 feet tall. Hey, you guys look terrified.
That's a beast. This is gonna be taller than me.
Now, bladesmiths, your blade length, measured from tip to where the cutting edge ends in a straight line, needs to be between 59 and 61 inches. It needs to be double-edged with a medial ridge. The crossguard and handle both need to be between 18 and 20 inches long, and it needs to have a disc pommel with a diameter of at least 3 inches. And our own Dave Baker made this one, so it can be done. Now, guys, good luck. You have 4 days to complete your massive swords. We will see you then.
It's day one. We got to build a Groot Pierre sword. My main focus is to turn a 50-inch piece of 5160 steel, stretch that as long as I possibly can, and get that length parameter met. This blade is so long, I can only heat up about 8 inches at a time and press it. By that time, it cools off too much. So back to the forge again. Just a very repetitive process. As the steel's getting thinner, it's drooping down. Gravity is bending this. Now I just gotta hold it till it cools off enough, because I'm scared to even move it right now. End of day one, I've got the blade length to size. Plan for tomorrow, get it refined and quenched. That was a struggle.
I think this challenge will be difficult because of the size of this blade, but the tools that I have are industrial size, so I'm hoping this gives me quite an advantage. I'm gonna use the 500-pound hammer to draw the shape and thin out the blade. I'm used to building big stuff. Some of my sculptures weigh up to 6,500 pounds, so this is in the realm of what I'm used to working on. My quench tank's buried 6 feet in the earth. Here we go up this ladder. This thing is huge. I think today went really well. I'm ready to go have a beer.
Today I have to get it quenched. Prepping for this quench is gonna take a little time. I have 3 forges. I can get nearly all that sword in the forges at once. This is a supersized quench tank. Never used it yet. We're gonna test it out today. Quenching this, I've never had to climb 5 rungs of a ladder. Everything needs to go right because there's not enough time to do it all over again. Hope for the best. Quenching this, everything needs to go right. There's not enough time to do it all over again. I didn't feel anything abnormal when it quenched. It is hard, and most importantly, it is straight. I'm at the halfway mark. I'm getting there.
Day 3, I got a lot accomplished yesterday. Guard done, pommels done. The plan for the day is to grind 1.5 pounds off this blade. When you grind, it tends to warp the blade. So I was back and forth to straighten the blade. Grinding, grinding, and straightening, grinding. That's what I got.
It is the morning of day 4. All the components are made. Dry fit up look good. Today's agenda, some fine tuning, glue up, and put an edge on it. I like to epoxy and clamp my handle on. As far as this goes, I want to do it vertical. Being 6'3", apparently that's not tall enough. Let's put John on the ladder. I got the pommel on. All the components are there. They just need some finishing touches and put an edge on it. The blade, it is 100% complete. I'm exhausted, but inside it feels wonderful. The mother of all swords.
Today, I'm gonna get going on this handle. Everything's coming out, nice shape. And I'm gonna start the finish of the blade and the guard and the pommel. This includes patina to blacken the steel to give it an aged look. Everything's gonna look like it's been used. I just feel like being a pirate, I mean, I don't think you would have nice stuff. I'm really happy with it. I really gotta hit something with this. I just can't let it pass. Nasty.
John, Michael, gentlemen, welcome back to the Forge. You've spent the past 4 days working on the Groot Pierre giant sword, and it just shows how large they are. We have to use 4 anvils to display these blades. Now, before we get into testing, we want to hear about your blade. So, John, how'd it go for you?
Yeah, it went great. Blade is 5160. It's got a forged crossguard, walnut handle, and mild steel pommel.
Awesome. Michael, how about you? How'd it go?
It went excellent, thank you. 8670 for the blade, some 1045 for the guard, and a forged bronze pommel in 655.
All right, gentlemen, keeping in the supersized theme, we're going to put your blades through a series of supersized tests. And up first, the kill test with Doug.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the kill test. John, you are up first. Are you ready?
You know I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
So big.
I recall probably 3 swords shorter than this breaking on a pig, and now we get to go through 2 of them. So hopefully nothing terrible happens to the blade, just the pigs.
All right, John, let's talk about your sword here. What I like is that you use a nice, hefty counterbalance, because despite being a heavy sword like this, it's wieldable. The edges are sharp, it cut deeply. I like that the guard also is not so massive that it gets in the way. And overall, it will kill.
Awesome.
All right, Michael, your turn. You ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
I feel a little nervous going into testing. Worst case scenario is gonna break. I feel a little nervous going into testing. Worst case scenario is gonna break.
All right, Michael, that's a beast. That's a beautiful beast. Now your edge is sharp. That really cuts deep into the pig carcass. It is a nice, heavy weight, but controllable, and more importantly, it will kill.
Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen, it's time for our strength test. The sheet metal chop. Now, there are 3 layers of 20-gauge sheet metal in each one of these things. And John, you are up first. Are you ready for this?
I am.
Okay. All right, John, very nice job on this sword. It's got a good weight to it. The blade itself, there are some slight rolls, but it's still plenty sharp. One comment I might have is that the blade's lean enough that it's very flexible. When I pick it up, that tip kind of drops maybe 3 inches of flex. You start to swing that blade, you don't know where that tip's gonna go. It's flopping around. but it did its job. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, Michael, you ready for this?
Give it hell.
Oh, good, because this is so much fun. All right, Michael, balance point, right where I freaking want it. It's a little bit more of a firm blade. It doesn't quite wiggle as much. As far as damage, just the very edge has rolled, but I would not drag my finger down that edge. It would still open me up. Knocked it out of the park. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, bladesmiths, this is the sharpness test, the watermelon and water jug slice. John, you're up first. You ready for this?
I am.
All right, let's do this. All right, John, let's talk about your blade here. The edge, it cut the first watermelon cleanly and then just wobble. There's so much wobble in this. As Dave said, there's just so much flex in this blade. You don't know where the tip is gonna go. And that's what happened on the watermelon slice. On the water jugs, clean cut. Even the tops are still there, wondering what happened. Overall, your Groot, Pierre, it'll cut.
Thank you.
Michael, your turn. So you ready?
You bet.
All right, let's do this. All right, Michael, let's talk about your blade here. First up, on a watermelon slice, much easier. Not much flex on the blade, just easy. Just keep it and let it drop and let it do its work, and it cut all the way through. On the water jug slice, it did cut. Overall, your sword, you will cut.
Thank you.
That was pretty rad. All right, gentlemen, in this supersized competition, we gave you a task on a scale unlike anything we've ever seen before in this forge. And the blades you brought back here impressed all of us. But as you know, only one of you can take home the title of Forge and Fire Champion and get that check for 10 grand. And if the judges did make a final decision. Today's Forge and Fire Champion is Michael. Congratulations. Now, John, you gave us an unbelievable blade, but it missed by just this much, and Dave's gonna tell you why.
John, this decision really came down to the extreme flexibility of your blade. That's why we're letting you go.
John, you are an unbelievable smith, but unfortunately your time in this competition has ended. I'm gonna have to ask you to please step off the forge floor.
I had a blast. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John.
I'm happy it made it through all the tests. This being the supersized challenge, I didn't want to make an ordinary sword, and this obviously blows ordinary swords out of the water. So it was fun to get the opportunity to make this.
Well, Michael, that makes you the Forge and Fire Champion. You're taking home a check for $10,000. Well done, man.
Woo! I'm Forge and Fire Champion. This is the first blade I've ever forged of this size. I'm very proud of my performance. It's very important to me to share the craft and to educate people and make some badass swords.
Here in the Forge, we are always raising the bar. But now, we're putting it at an all-time high. Everything in this competition, from the steel, the blades, even the tests, will be some of the biggest we have ever seen on the Forge floor.
I've made some big stuff before, but this is in its own league.
Who will rise to this massive challenge and take home $10,000? This is Forged and Fire Supersized.
My name's Jason Briglin. I currently live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm a retired Army guy who works in Space Force. Space Force is a unique environment where it's a lot about communication with satellites. That's all I want to say, because, you know, I like my clearance.
My name is David Werner. I'm 37 years old. I'm from Kirkwood, Missouri. I have twins, a boy and a girl. And I would say that raising twins has prepared me really well for this competition because I can deal with stressful situations.
My name is James Dean, like the actor. I was a professional chef for 25 years. The forge environment is much like the kitchen. It is hot, it is angry, it is dirty, but I get to create something beautiful. You just don't eat it. You can, it's just not nutritious and might break a teeth.
My name's Robert Shea. I'm 48 years old. I'm from Kingman, Kansas. I watched some silly show where they were like making knives, and oh yeah, it was this show. And the next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a forge. The wife told me, you sure you're gonna want to spend that much on something and you don't know if you're gonna want to do it later? And it's later, and I want to do it.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the forge. Well, technically we're outside the forge, but I'll get into that in a minute. You guys are here, selected to take part in a bladesmithing competition unlike any other. It's going to consist of 3 rounds. At the end of each one, there will be an elimination, but it will all culminate with one of you leaving here carrying the title of Forge of Fire champion and get checked for $10,000. Now, you are going to be doing all of your work today in front of our expert judges here behind me. They're doing all the testing, the critiques, and making the eliminations, deciding which one of you is coming out on top. Now, Bladesmiths, we are continuing a series of competitions that we have dubbed Forged in Fire Supersized. This is a competition series where everything from the tests, the challenges, and the weapons have a chance of being the largest and the most difficult we've ever done before. To kick things off, gentlemen, you guys are gonna have 3 hours to build a very large signature blade in your signature style. The only thing we ask is that you have a cutting edge that measures between 16 and 18 inches. Now, you're probably still wondering what we're doing outside, gentlemen. Well, that's because today you'll be sourcing your steel from something so large it was unable to fit through our bay doors into the forge floor. Guys, today you're gonna be building your blades from this.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, gentlemen, what you're looking at here is 5 tons of scrap metal. Some of it's steel, some of it's not. You're gonna have to take your time picking out your materials because that's where you're gonna be making your blades from.
Oh, crap. This is absolutely insane. There's kitchen sinks, we've got compressors, we've got everything you don't want to see when you're making a knife.
Now, once you guys are done with the first round of competition, you will turn the blades over to our judges and they will critique your work, deciding which 3 of you are moving forward into the second round of competition. And those 3 will add handles to their blades, turning them into fully functioning weapons, at which point you will turn your blades over to our judges and they will check for strength and durability in a giant steel pipe chop. And then check your edge retention in a tarp slice. All right, gentlemen, you got a lot of work ahead of you. We will see you guys inside. So good luck because your time starts now.
There is a lot of junk out there.
Watch your foot.
They got 5 tons of trash to go through before they get a blade.
Literally, plus the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Like, it's out there.
They can grab as much of that steel as they want, but the key is finding the high carbon.
Looking at the pile, I don't see really a whole lot I can turn into a blade. I see this crazy-ass, giant, shrieking-looking thing that seems to be a farm digging tool. I can make something out of it. So I knew that at one time this thing spun, and if it spins, the tines have to be good steel because it's ripping up earth.
James coming through the door, coming in hot. What do we got here?
It's like a tiller.
What do you think that's made of?
Not the best stuff.
Would it be doable in a can with that 1095 powder?
That'd be the easiest way to do it.
I'm gonna chop it up into little pieces, throw it into a can with some 1095. At least I will know what one of the steels is in the can.
You see anything?
No, not a lot.
Got this guy. I had to find a piece of metal that's going to be large enough for a 16 and 18-inch blade, but finding something of that size is kind of difficult. I noticed that there are some pieces of axle. Due to the nature of what an axle is used for, I'm pretty certain it has to be good steel.
I got what I need.
5160. I feel like I got lucky. I find a spring off some kind of truck. I'm good.
We got Jason coming in with looks like a coil spring.
You're pretty much dialed in there. That coil spring is 5160.
It's easy to work with, and I know it's a hardenable steel. Gotta get it in the heat. Gotta make things happen.
I'm looking for something that I know by its job that it does something tough. Looking for axles and things like that, something that you can draw out into a bar stock pretty easy. Sometimes you don't get what you want. The problem is I'm not seeing those things because everything that I'm finding that I know is good steel is in really not the shape I want. I'm seeing like chains. I've never used chains before in anything. I do see a large auger bit, and it could be good steel, but you never know. So I'm grabbing them both because I'm running out of time.
All right, last but not least, Robert's got a large drill bit and some chain.
I'm thinking of the chains because I'm probably going to go canister, but I'm not terribly confident about making canisters, so I'm going to keep the auger bit for my backup.
Bladesmiths, you've got 2 hours and 30 minutes remaining.
I felt like I might have a slight advantage being first inside, but cleaning up this steel right now is making me feel like I'm behind.
Trying to get it clean so I don't put dirty steel in the can.
It's taking a very long time, but as any good chef knows, it's all in the prep work.
You know, I'm watching James. He's a chef, right?
I'm gonna assume so.
I'm choosing to wear a chef coat because I've worn one my whole life, and when I'm chef coat ready, I'm work ready.
Doesn't quite fit. The hard part of using the coil isn't anything other than unwrapping the coil.
This is a giant spring. It's kicking my butt.
I think the best we saw on a coil spring unwrap was Bert Foster and beat the judges.
Oh, that's what he made. He made a straightening bar. There we go. Yeah, straightening bar. It's not even a... Yeah, that is so cool.
I get part of it straight, but the other half isn't. And then it doesn't want to fit in the forge for me. Come on. It's like yelling at the lady behind the counter when your flight gets canceled. It's not her fault.
He can cut some of that off.
Oh, he should cut half of that off.
Yeah.
I'm completely flustered, but I have to keep trying to straighten it out or I'm going home.
There's a reason that that piece of metal is in the scrapyard. It might have a flaw of some sort of crack throughout the metal that could be catastrophic for a blade. So first thing I know I need to do is start stripping them down.
Now, I've actually made blades out of drive shafts back in the day when I was using a lot of salvage stuff that held up very nicely.
Well, in a salvage competition like this, if you have the ability to go with monosteel, it takes a lot of the risk out of the equation.
I haven't really been able to focus too much on bladesmithing in the past 2 years because I've been busy raising twins. You would compare the amount of energy that it took for me to raise my first child to raising twins. It's kind of the difference between raising a child and owning a cat.
I'm feeling pretty confident at this point.
Now we only have Robert left outside of the fire here. How you guys feel about his pace?
Not good.
I know I'm way behind. These welders are much more powerful than anything I've ever used, so I'm trying not to burn a hole in the can.
All right, guys, Robert is finally heating his billet. Holy smokes. He's got flames coming out the back of his canister like a freaking candle.
I'm just freaking out. When powder burns out of the canister, then there's the possibility that inside there you're going to get voids because you're burning out the powder that's supposed to be packed in there.
I don't know, man. Is it going to be burned in there or not? It's a tough call. As long as your can's cold, do it. Welding.
I decide that I need to go ahead and just try this out and just pray that nothing happened to it too bad that it's lost.
I've used so much time. I'm still trying to straighten it out. I go from the vise over to the press. I find myself back over the vise. I'm trying to heat up a corner. And no matter what I do, the clock keeps going.
Okay.
Eventually, I get through it.
Now that is a manageable piece of steel.
Ooh, sigh of relief. I'm back on track.
Bladesmiths, you are now halfway through the first round.
Swinging hot steel.
James has got a super hot canister going for his first forge weld.
If you season it, it tastes better.
I talk to myself all the time.
A little bit too aggressive.
I have like two little devils, and one's like, do it this way, do it that way.
I loved it.
So I try to spit out what I should hear.
I have one big piece of homogeneous steel.
I know I got a good weld. I feel great. So now I gotta get it drawn out.
I like this thing.
David and his drive shaft are running away with this competition.
Since I know this is gonna go through a pipe chop, I'm wanting something that's really beefy and strong. So I'm making an overgrown chopper with an integral bolster.
Saying 16 to 18 inches doesn't necessarily seem like that much until you see it.
Yeah.
This thing is massive.
I don't think I've ever made a knife this big, this fast. Pretty surprised and happy with myself.
So the parameters that we were given today is basically a 16 to 18-inch blade. It's more of a short sword and not my everyday knife I make. So I decided to go with a 17-inch sax. Simple knife, simple plan. I'm looking forward to what the judges have to say about it.
Look at Jason's blade. It's just long. It's still this wide.
It doesn't have a lot of profile. It looks like a ruler.
That looks great. You gotta keep it beautiful. Don't want to burn it off.
Robert's got that massive beard flowing. Decided to tie it all up after that can started shooting flames out.
This beard did probably a year and a half is what it took. When this all went away, I just decided to migrate it and just... I've got my weld set, but now I need to cut the billet open and make sure it's actually forge welded.
Let's find out.
Well, he did have quite a bit of burnout in the beginning when he threw his canister in the fire. Any chance that he had voids in there before he went for the press?
Sure. There's all kinds of inclusions in there.
There's no decision at this point. It's dead, and I have to start over.
No way. All right, guys, Robert is thrown in the billet. He's starting over.
I'm actually in panic mode. I just spent more than half a round on nothing. But I'm not gonna quit.
He's grabbing the giant drill bit. That seems like a lot of steel to move, though.
It is. Working with strange metal that shouldn't be put into a shape and then figuring out how to do it, this is what I do. So I know I just have to straighten this thing out enough to get a flat piece. I just keep reminding myself, keep going at your pace, get it done.
Bladesmiths, you have 60 minutes remaining.
Hell yeah.
Now that I have my steel mostly cleaned up and I'm kind of comfortable with it, what I want to do is clay back my knife.
No
James
way.
is going to do a clay coat. They use the clay to make a soft spine on your blade called a hamon. It's where the hardened edge is separated from the softer spine. Super good.
It's time to go into the oil. I think I'm like gonna pray. Baby Jesus, Chef Jesus, Kitchen Jesus, please don't come apart.
James with a sword and the stone action quench.
It's pretty damn straight.
The thing's hard, it's a win.
Whoa, we got a quench. He's making really, really quick work out of this.
And it seems to be hard all the way up and down. For the rest of the round, I'm gonna try and refine everything as far as I can with the blade.
I gotta say, regardless of what happens here, I'm extremely proud of Robert here.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, to see him take that huge drill bit, hammer it out into a knife shape.
In less than half the time left.
I can't believe it. It's looking like a knife, but I need to quench it. But I'm not sure what kind of steel this is, so I don't know how to heat treat it properly.
Only live once.
Way too hot. You quench that blade at...
Temperature of the sun?
Yeah.
It's straightish, and it's hard. I'm relieved.
That will work.
Jason, quench.
Nope.
Oh crap, there's a warp. A pretty significant warp.
Oh, come on.
I'm literally shaking and I want to scream on the inside because I don't have enough time to fix the warp. Of course I don't want to hand a warp blade into the judges, but if I move into the next round, I could fix this no problem.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmiths, turn off your machines, put down your tools. This round of the supersized competition is over.
I feel good that I got this finished, but I feel like my chances are slim. It's definitely going to be the roughest one out there.
All right, gentlemen, you guys just completed the first 3 hours of our supersized challenge, and guys, that was impressive. The time has come for the first critique, followed by an elimination. So, Robert, you're up first. You ready?
Yep.
Please present your work.
All right, Robert. First up, with an hour to go, this is what you turned in. That's impressive. But there's a lot of steel that you have here. But good job for not giving up, and I like where you're going with this.
All right, up next, we got James. You ready?
Yes.
All right, please present your work.
Hi, James. That's a cool looking blade. But the big thing about your blade, though, is that it's really thick. But in all, I think you're on your way here. Just put this thing on a diet and get a lot of this meat out here.
David, you're up. You ready?
I am.
Please present your work.
All right, David. You sure have skills. That is beautiful all the way through. To put an integral bolster there, the handle construction, even the way you tapered it. Moving forward, I love where you're going with this already, so I'd really like to be able to make sure that that handle stays comfortable with the way you have your blade, but nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, Jason, last but not least, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Please present your work.
All right, Jason. I think you made a really good choice in the steel you chose. But there's a warp and a twist to the blade. But what's killing me is it's just the straight bar. There's no refinement, there's no shape to it. So if you move into the second round, defining this blade is the important thing.
Thank you, sir.
Well, gentlemen, these supersized competitions are built to be tough. But in this competition, only 3 of you can join us in round 2. And after discussion, our judges did make a final decision. The bladesmith leaving the forge is Jason. Unfortunately, your blade did not make the cut, and Ben's going to tell you why.
Well, Jason, the combination of the shape of your blade, warps and twists, add up to be more problems than those of your competitors. It's for that reason we're letting you go.
Well, Jason, it was a monumental task, but unfortunately, at this point in time, I'm going to have to ask you to please surrender your work and step off the forge floor.
This challenge was huge.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
This was the biggest knives ever asked to be made on this show. So I'm really proud of the work I've done, and I would do it again.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. Your hard work and perseverance have paid off, and you are all 3 moving into our second round of this supersized competition. Now, in this round, we're going to ask that you fix any issues that the judges brought up, refine your blades, and add handles to them, turning them into fully functioning weapons. As far as handle materials go, if you take a look over into our pantry, you see it is in quite a bit of disarray. We asked the junkyard to give us as much handle material as they could find. Sorry to say that this is what they came up with. Now, when this time runs out, you will turn your blades over to our judges, and they will check for strength and durability in a giant steel pipe chop, and then check your edge retention in a tarp slice. We've got 2 hours on the clock for the second round of competition, so good luck, because that time starts now. Guys, we're here in the second round of our supersized competition. Lots of work to do.
Oh, yeah. This is a tough one because they have to pick their junk and still be a blade that will do our task.
Yeah.
By looking through the pile, I can tell that there are some types of wood that aren't exactly up to snuff. It's important that I get a piece of wood that's going to perform for the testing. Otherwise, could have problems like breaking apart, and that would be catastrophic.
So it looks like David grabbed a long piece of, what is that, ash? All right, how's that for handle material?
Great.
I think with the amount of tasks that I have, I can get done in 2 hours if everything goes right.
Time to get skinny, baby.
Right off the get-go, both Robert and James have headed back to the grinders to remove a ton of material, and both of them needed it.
During the critique, Ben said, try to lose some weight. I'm really concerned because 2 hours is not a lot of time considering that I have to grind half of my blade away.
You're gonna be ugly.
I guarantee Robert is a little shaky in his boots here. He thought he was going home after starting halfway through the first round.
But Robert's got this beautiful canvas. Just bring those bevels up on that thing, he's dialed in.
The blade is beefy. I like beefy blades, but not everybody likes them, so I'm gonna have to thin it up. I'm probably gonna take enough metal off there to make another knife. It'll do.
David just cruising along. If he continues that fast pace through this handle round, he's set.
So now that I've got my scales and the pinholes drilled, I can get the pins into the handle material. But I'm having a hard time getting the pins through. I need to make sure the handle is securely fastened to the blade with pins. Otherwise, it'll probably fail in testing. So the only way that I can get the pin to go through is to tap it with a hammer.
Oh boy, here we go. Big hammer for a little job.
If I go too hard, too fast, I could end up splitting the handle material. Hope they don't crack.
Oh.
I think I'm gonna make it to the third round.
There we go. Looks like David got through. All right, guys, you got 30 minutes left in the handle round.
So nice we have a minute alone together. Do you want to talk about your weight? Are you feeling better about your weight? I like it. I like it. I like it. I've got half of my total blade weight off, but it took a lot longer than I wanted, so I'm feeling rushed.
So many choices.
James grabbed what looks like an axe handle. Is that going to be useful?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's not gonna be hickory.
Hickory is typically used for axe handles, shovels, and baseball bats, suitable for a challenge when you have to slam a knife into a steel pipe.
This is gonna be the hard part. I'm the last of this pile of junk, and there's not much left. Most of it's really soft, nasty stuff. There's hardly anything here that's worthwhile. It's all pine, it's got knots in it, but there's a pickaxe handle, and that's what I'm gonna use. It'll do.
So Robert's grabbed a pickaxe handle. Is that going to be useful?
It's a good choice, but Robert should definitely move it.
I don't have a lot of time, but I've got a plan. I'm just gonna follow it and hope for the best.
I'm pretty well satisfied with what I have as far as handle is concerned, but I want to make sure that I've got the blade as sharp as I need it.
If you're not nervous about testing, you're fooling.
I'm feeling pretty confident about my blade.
Starting to feel like a knife. Kind of looks like a knife.
So handle shape, it's got to be comfortable, it's got to be functioning. Can't hurt the user or the knife is useless.
Yeah. That's looking pretty good.
It's not something I don't want to use and it doesn't feel good to me, I'm not going to turn it in.
The scales are on, and I have to finish shaping the handle. It's actually pretty easy right now to shape this handle. It's moving well, and I'm getting it done really quick. Again, I'm down to the last few minutes. Pretty or not, I have got to get it finished.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bladesmith, put down your tools. This round is over. Well done, guys.
I'm feeling really good about going into testing. I did everything I could, and I think my knife is, actually, I know my knife's gonna cut because it cut me multiple times.
All right, gentlemen, welcome to our strength test, the massive steel pipe chop. All right, Robert, you're up first. You ready?
Yes.
Good answer.
In round one, when I restarted, I was rushing so hard. I don't know what's gonna happen with this blade. I'm just hoping that I survive.
That was nuts.
All right, Robert. It's a hard pipe.
Yeah.
You can see that the grain size is pretty big. So what this comes down to is the heat treat on that blade. got this blade way too hot before he quenched, and that makes for a brittle blade. But I really like the fact that you drew that thing out so quickly and got that done the way you did. And it turned out to be a pretty good blade here. Nicely done.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, buddy. All right, Robert, your blade did suffer a catastrophic failure. You're not out of this fight yet. Now, gentlemen, you will both have to survive 3 strikes on these giant steel pipes in order to move forward into the final round of competition. James, you're up first. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
After watching Robert's test, I'm super nervous. I need to survive David Baker belligerently smashing my blade into these massive pipes 3 times and not feeling hot about it. Almost puked.
So, James, I don't know what the tiller blades are made out of, but with that 1095 powder, it certainly made a strong blade. Nicely done. All right, David, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's do it.
I noticed that the tubes are absolutely enormous. There's not going to be a whole lot of flex in them. I just hope that I can survive 3 blows.
It's in one piece.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. Your blade survived this insane test. That means both of you are moving forward in the 3rd and final round of the supersized competition. Now, Robert, because your blade suffered a catastrophic failure, we cannot continue with testing. You're a talented smith. You fought hard, but unfortunately, your time in this competition has ended. I'm gonna have to ask you to please step off the forge floor.
Great job, Robert.
Well done, man.
Fun watching your work, man.
It was great. Thanks. I hated seeing it break, but I got to take part in something that's really amazing. And for me especially, it was extra fun to do this, but also get to make something really huge. And that's what I love doing.
James, David, gentlemen, congratulations. You are now moving into the final round of this supersized competition. But in this final round, gentlemen, you will be building the largest weapon we have ever asked smiths to make in Forge and Fire history. Bladesmiths, in the next 4 days, you will be building this. The 9-foot-long Frauler Spice.
The Frauler Spice dates back to 16th century northern Italy. The massive polearm features a 37-inch long central blade with 2 curved side blades. The shaft could measure up to 6 feet long, perfect for delivering lethal thrusts and slashes upon enemy cavalry. Over time, this enormous weapon took on a more ceremonial role, and at its longest, spanned more than 10 feet. Today, the Frauler Spice can be seen on display at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City.
Guys, it needs to fall within these parameters. The main blade needs to be between 31 and 33 inches, double-edged. It has 2 secondary blades that are curved. It needs to connect to its pole with a socket. Your overall length from the base all the way to the tip needs to be between 107 and 109 inches.
I've made some pretty big stuff before, but nothing quite this large. This is in its own league.
When you come back here, only one of you is gonna earn the title of Forge and Fire champion and get a check for 10 grand. So good luck, you're gonna need it. We will see you guys in 4 days.
It's the beginning of day 1. I'm ready to get started on the Frauler Spice. This is a huge build. I'm kind of nervous about making something that's this size. And then to put a spear socket at the end of it, that's also a challenge. I think that along with budgeting enough time to be able to forge out the side blades and then get them to attach to the socket, you know, it's gonna be a pacing challenge. That's that.
We're in Rochester, New York. Time to stand up a huge village. By the end of today, I hope to accomplish stacking up 230 layers of Damascus. I want to do something to kind of really elevate my build. Typically, I make chef knives. I'm working on a blade that is going to be 40 inches with a handle that's somewhere around 6 foot. So this is going to be a challenge. All right.
So the beginning of day 2, and today I need to start shaping the handle. I've made some spears before, but nothing quite like this. So I need to make sure that the handle will actually fit inside the socket. I've got to make sure that there's a pretty precise fit. So I think what I'm going to do is heat up this guy and try and use that heat to press this in the post vise around there to get a nice seal on that shaft. That's what I was going for. That's the end of day 2, and I'm feeling pretty good. This is the coolest toy.
It's the beginning of day 3. Yesterday, I got my handle done, and I've got a socket drifted out. So I'm feeling pretty good about it, but I got a lot to do today. First thing I'm gonna do is cut in my little spikes. Now that the pikes are shaped, you gotta quench. For something this big, there's chances it might warp. It's got a little bit of a warp. It did take a little bit of a warp, but nothing that's not within grinder range. The blade is hard. I'm super pumped.
It's the beginning of day 4. Yesterday, I got the blades quenched. I just need to assemble everything and sharpen it. Because of the size of this blade, we've got a bit of a difficulty trying to get the contours of those smaller blades onto the belt grinder without having anything come into contact with the belt grinder that shouldn't. But I think that the edge is going to be pretty good on the blade. I think this blade has got a pretty good shot of bringing home 10,000 bucks. Who's hungry?
Day 4, I tempered last night. My warp got a little bit worse, so I'm gonna try grinding it out. Broke. Ended up shattering the tip off in the process. Don't know. I just wasted 3 whole work days and 233 layers of Damascus. Heartbroken. This is day 4. I don't know how to fix the failure in time. Don't know what you do. I have no time left, but I'm starting over. Being that I only have 9 hours, I have to try to make the build out of a mono steel just so I can get it done in time. Since my time is short, I have to rush the heat treat. I really didn't get much of a warp. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I had a huge comeback. I'm the comeback kid. Who builds the biggest weapon in Forge and Fire history in 9 hours on the last day? I dare you.
Bladesmiths, welcome back to the Forge, gentlemen. You are here for the final round of testing in this supersized competition. Now, at the end of this, one of you will earn a title of Forge and Fire champion and a check for $10,000. But before we do that, I want to hear about these blades. So, David, tell us about yours.
I forged my blade out of L6. I made the central blade and socket out of one piece and made the side blades out of L6 as well.
All right, awesome. Now, James, how about you?
So I broke my blade on the last day of the build. I made that thing in under 9 hours out of 80 CRV2, hickory for the handle, textiles, paracord, and some copper inlays on it.
Regardless of what happens here, you gotta be proud of yourself.
Super proud of it.
Both your blades look absolutely menacing. They're massive, but only one of you is gonna come out on top of this competition. In order to find out which one of you that is, we're gonna put your blades through a series of dynamic tests. To start things off, I'm gonna hand you over to Doug.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the dynamic kill test. But as massive as your weapons are, it's not as massive as my disappointment that I can't wield them today because of my injury here. But I leave you in capable hands with the man of the plan who'll be my hand, Dave Baker. David, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's do this.
I know a lot of people would be nervous, but honestly, I've had so much fun getting to this point that I'm just excited to see what my weapon can do.
So, David, when you're swinging a 9-foot weapon, it's pretty wild. It went into the pig with no resistance whatsoever. The blade, it's all still true, it's all still sharp. Nicely done. Doug, you got anything to add?
Your weapon will kill.
All right, James, you ready?
Slice, dice, and bacon.
All right.
Home forge was challenging. I broke my blade the final day that I had to build it because I have an issue with my heat treat. I hope I don't have the same outcome again.
All right, James, right off, it did what it's supposed to do. But there are some spots that are dull. I can literally rub my finger on it. And we picked up a significant bend in the blade. But having said that, Doug?
Your weapon, sir, will kill.
Thank you.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the dynamic strength test. To test the strength and overall construction of your weapons, I will be pushing on these poles, snapping all 10 of them, and then piercing these steel drums. Dave, you're up first. You ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. All right, David. Well, your blade held up great. In piercing the drums, took some serious flex, but came right back to true. The side blades here, they penetrated that barrel, and I don't even see any indication that they were in there. All in all, I think you did a great job, and your weapon held up great.
Thank you.
All right, James, you're up, man. You ready?
Pick it up, fire it up.
All right. All right, James, looks like your tip held up fine, but your blade took a pretty significant warp. It's kind of doing an S-curve now, but all in all, it held up pretty good. Nice job.
Thank you.
But Bladesmiths, this has been a hell of a competition from the beginning, but at the end of this competition, only one of you can come out on top, earning the check for $10,000 and the title of Fortune Fire Champion. Today's Fortune Fire Champion is David. Congratulations. Now, James, you fought hard, but unfortunately your blade did not make the cut, and Dave Baker's going to tell you why.
James, let me commend you on making that in 9 hours. That's a great job. But your heat treat's starting to fail, and it's starting to bend. Eventually, it's going to be a detriment to the user, and that's why we're letting you go.
Understood.
Well, James, you're a talented smith. You've been talented all the way through this competition. We want to say thank you for coming out, but your time here has ended. I'm going to have to ask you to please step off the forge floor.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thanks, James.
I feel devastated after the test. I really wanted to win, but I mean, I made the biggest blade in Forge and Fire history in 9 hours, and I'm proud of it.
David, that makes you a Forge and Fire champion, man. You're going to be getting a check for $10,000. Very well done.
Thank you. I'm still kind of just processing that just happened. A big chunk of this $10,000 is going to go toward getting my kids their education. I'm just excited.